Dobry wieczór.
Dobry wieczór. Hello.
Hello, I'm here with Jankos. I'm going to do one of my reflections interviews with him. And usually, I always like to go kind of in the order that things happened, because it's a good way to tell the story and people get like the memories flowing of what happened. So if you go back in time and you look at the history of Jankos, even before this team you're in now, people will find like back in Team Mistral and then GF Gaming, these sorts of teams in like the Challenger scene basically, and then into H2K. So people will see, okay, in Season 3 you were in the Challenger scene. But before that, I've noticed a lot of the people who came up through the Challenger scene, literally a lot of them had no career before that. Like maybe they only played Go for Lols or something, or maybe they were only on solo queue. Were you really a guy, before Season 3, did you really... You hadn't had any experience in competitive gaming at all? You just came fresh out of solo queue into these teams? Did you have any background before that? Like, were there ever any times you almost joined a big team, anything like that?
Well, to be fair, I started from playing Dota from just a scratch, but I didn't play competitively. And then when I started playing LoL, I think it was before Season 1, I'm not sure right now. And I was just playing solo queue, playing with my friends. I really didn't care that much about ELO. Also, when I started, I was playing on NA, so I couldn't really play competitively because of the high ping. It was like 200, I think. Then I was like maybe like 2K ELO or something like that, and I was playing versus I Will Dominate right now.
Okay.
And he said that I'm pretty good and I should try to go for EU. I should start from scratch in EU.
This is
and
when is this like Season 2?
I think it's like Season 1.
Okay.
Yeah. And he said like, okay, go on EU and try to play competitively, because you are pretty good and you should try something. So I just went for that, and a couple of my friends moved with me to EU. I was just, playing with them, I was just trying to get level 30. Then I was playing for fun as well. I didn't really care about ELO. And then I think one Polish guy asked me to play with them, go for LoL. And it's where it all began. I was just trying to get better and better. It was my first go for LoL, and I think we won that one. And I just liked it. I just liked the fact that I'm better than my enemies, and I was just trying to get better to prove people that I'm the best in Poland at least. And that time the Mokate, I think, he was considered the best jungler in Poland, so I was trying to get better, and I didn't really respect him that much. He has a lot of experience and he was pretty good at that moment, but I was like, I can be better than this guy. So I was just keep trying, and finally, I think I was playing with Mistral back then and we qualified for the LCS in France, LCS Lille it was. I was just trying to get better and better.
Okay. Usually players from the era when you came up, and I've noticed also a trend, right? Most junglers from like that era, Season 2, Season 3, this sort of time, they all looked up to Diamondprox, because Diamondprox was like the king back then. And you even hear Korean players, they looked up to him. And I noticed also, in general, from my experiences in esports, a lot of the players from like Poland and Ukraine and Russia, all these sorts of countries actually have they almost have like to a degree, sort of like a brotherly feeling of each other. So they look up to different players from there. Like in Quake, they looked up to Kula, or the guys in Counter-Strike, Neo, and all these. It's like, it feels like there's a similar thing where they think of them as almost a similar type of people, okay? Were you really a guy who was like, were you a fanboy of Diamondprox? If you were coming up and you were thinking of these players like Mokate, like, oh, I'm better than him or something, did you think, like, when you watched Diamondprox, did you think, oh, I could be as good as him if I had the chance? What was your feeling like at the time?
To be fair, at this moment, I wasn't yet Diamondprox fan. It's because when I was still playing on NA, I saw Saint Victus, and he was at this moment also good. He was playing in CLG.
And this is when he was the carry jungler?
Yeah, and I was playing some ranked, and I think I was playing a ROCCAT bot lane, and I pretty much failed that game, and he was streaming. He was on the same team as I was, and he was like flaming me so hard, that guy is bad, what the fuck is he doing, stuff like that. So I was like, holy shit, man. Like, why would I say? And I was like a flamer as well, and I just didn't feel like he's better. What can I say, right? So then I just looked up to him, that he's good, that I want to be like him, at least in the terms of playing. And every tournament that CLG meet M5 at this moment, I was cheering for CLG just because I was playing in NA and it was Saint Vicky's, so I was cheering like, come on, you are better than Diamond, stuff like that.
Okay.
But to be fair, Diamond was better, I guess, and maybe in like late season 2, start of season 3, I was Diamond, not a fanboy, but I did look up to him.
One of the things that's interesting is when I actually went back and watched some of these games from Mistral, and I watched the games going into the H2K era, I actually thought to myself, because listen, everyone knows I think you're like a really good jungler. I think you're the best EU jungler at the moment. I thought to myself, like, oh, well, since you're so good now, if I go back, I'll probably sort of see like the seeds of when you were becoming really good. Like maybe actually you were like a hidden gem and people just didn't know how good you are. And to be honest, when I went back and watched those games, like you were way worse than you are now. Like you would have like a good play every now and then, or you'd have like a good 10-minute span, but you never really like, it's not like you carried the whole game or you were like owning the other jungler every time. How did you actually think of yourself during the amateur days in season 3? Did you actually think you were good at the time? Did you think you were at an LCS level?
I didn't think that I was on the LCS level, but I definitely thought that I'm the best in Poland in terms of jungling. Like even still, there is no Polish jungler that's good. Wait, maybe Kik is. He's not that strong, but he's pretty good, right? So I considered myself the best in Poland, but I didn't really think that I'm on the LCS level, because in the LCS you had players like Diamond or Snoopy, who was good at that moment, or I don't remember who else, but they were just better. So I was just trying to improve, looking at Diamond. And I guess with the LCS experience and with more experience in Steam as well, because you can't forget that Mistral times was when I just started playing competitively, So when I get a little bit more experience, I guess I just evolved and I'm better right now.
Back in those days, you said there were no good Polish junglers. Maybe people don't know this, but there was a weird period of time when Overpow actually was trying to be a jungler in a Nexus. What was he actually like as a jungler? Was he any good?
I don't want to flame my teammate right now, But to be fair, I think he was, well, when he transferred to jungle, he was one of the best in Poland. That's like how bad Polish scene was back then.
Okay.
I mean, wait, don't get me wrong. He was not bad, but when you transition from the mid lane or from the other lane to jungle, and suddenly you are like one of the best, then something is wrong, And I played few scrims against Overpow and his team Annexis back then, and I think I was better. We didn't really had a problems versus him in the jungle. Like he was totally better mid laner back then. When we tried to play versus them, and he was a mid laner, we were like, you need to camp Overpow. Overpow is good. Like he can carry game alone. And when he was in the jungle, we were like, okay, just buy 2 wards, and I guess this guy can do nothing right now. So in the jungle, it was easier for me at least to play versus him in the jungle than it was when he was playing mid lane.
So one of the differences between that area and now is actually the meta of champions is very different. Like actually back in those days, you could be playing something like Nasus jungle. People forget that was something that was there. Xin Zhao obviously was strong at the time. We had stuff like Jarvan the Fourth was still played everywhere except China. It's the only place that seems to play it now. Nowadays, obviously, people know you for like, okay, Lee Sin, Elise, like these sorts of Evelyn, these sorts of champions. Did the actual meta back then? Were you comfortable with the kits of those champions? Were you kind of always waiting for like the Lee Sin sort of era to come back in? What do you think of the difference?
To be fair, I never was a passive player, With Nasus, with Maokai, with Cho'Gath, those are the champions that you just stay in the jungle, you farm, and then your contribution in teamfights is bigger. But in terms of like aggressive playstyle, I like more the meta that we had right now with allies, with Evelyn, with Lee Sin, because I like could went for plays, you know. You don't do plays with Cho'Gath. What can you do? Like flash rapture? It's not that strong. I mean, was a play that Snoopek did on, I think, some Korean. It was in the World Championship. I don't remember exactly who against it was. Snoopek did something like he hit the rapture and he was almost dead, but he ate his target and he got the heal back from passive. And what? Okay, it's pretty good, you know, that he did that, but you know, like, except it, what can you do with Cho'Gath or Nasus? What are the plays? Like, you just run in and you throw Q or something. And with Lee Sin, you can do some like crazy stuff, like kicks, like, you know, mechanic dodging with W, with Q, stuff like that. It's so much more fun to play champion like Lee Sin and allies than Nasus, for example. So maybe it just wasn't my meta as well, you know? I just feel more comfortable right now than it was before.
Okay. So in this era, I actually read when your team qualified for LCS, you all did an AMA and you answered a bunch of questions there. And one of the things that surprised me was in this AMA, you actually said about how, as well as Diamondprox, who at the time was still like a very well-hyped jungler, everyone still thought he was very good. The other person who everyone kept bringing up was Shook, because this was when Shook, at the beginning of that season, well, that was going to be his first LCS season. And I saw that you were constantly praising him, saying like he has the potential to be the best Western jungler, like, crazy mechanics. And you were saying like he's one of the only players I'm scared of. And this actually surprised me because I would have thought, since you'd played against him in the amateur scene, and actually there was a final DreamHack Bucharest where you beat him in the final, I would have thought, okay, maybe you'd think of yourself like, hey, you know, I'm not as good as him. I was in the amateur scene. I'm coming into LCS now. What was impressing you so much about Shook? Why would you say you were afraid of him, or he was a dangerous guy for you?
Right now, I wouldn't say I'm scared of him, but back then, he was the only guy who played so well mechanically. Like online, I mean, offline it was a different story. Let me talk about online first. So online, he never did a mistake. He was playing so aggressively well. Like you were scared of him like you were scared of Diamond, like in Season 2, for example. He was so good, like you couldn't outplay him pretty much. In solo queue, he was so good. In online scrims, he was so good. In tournaments, online at least, he was so good. Like his Lee Sin was so good at least. And then when it comes to offline, he choked. I think he didn't have enough experience back then, and we did beat him at DreamHack Bucharest. And he did a lot of mistakes there, and I wasn't really scared of him because of those mistakes, because like, I don't know, I'm playing against him, he is so praised, but why is he not doing anything? And then when it comes to online after the DreamHack, again, this guy is a monster, you know? And at this point, when I qualified for the LCS, I think we played some scrims versus him, and I don't know, he was just better, and I thought that when he will get some experience on LAN, he will be the best jungler in Europe, just because his mechanics are great, he just needs more experience. But when I look at this now, of course, he's the best. Like, in my opinion, he's still the best jungler in Europe, but he chokes. He still chokes. It's more that, I don't know, on offline, like sometimes he's 10-0, like you can't stop that guy. And sometimes he will just farm and do anything. In my opinion, he's inconsistent, but he's still the best, I guess.
So when you break it down like that, and you were saying like, if he can dominate, he can actually have like an insane score even for a jungler. But there's sometimes where maybe he just farms and he doesn't have an impact on the game. Okay, he just farms, doesn't make plays, doesn't do anything. Is there a way to tell when that's going to be? Is it when he's pushed onto certain champions? Is it if something goes wrong early in the game? What do you think the circumstances are that allow like Shook to choke for some reason? Can you get a sense for it?
To be fair, I'm not sure. Maybe it's just of his team. Maybe sometimes, for example, Frogan just says, Shook, play passively. Don't do stupid things. Like, we just need to farm and we will win late. But I think Tabs, who is not in Alliance at this moment, on Ask FM, he said that Shook is inconsistent because his ganks were based on intuition, you know? He didn't really think a lot about the game. He was just doing ganks because of his intuition.
Felt right at the time.
And I think it's the best thing that jungler can have. Like, to be fair, I'm playing on intuition as well. I don't think that, for example, in 2 minutes I will try to gank top, because first I will kill golems, then I will ward the enemy blue, and then I will go top. It's just that I just feel that moment where I need to go top, you know? So it's kind of that maybe sometimes in a game he just doesn't feel as confident. He just feels like maybe wrong matchup doesn't work for him, and he's playing against a little bit better jungler, so he's not that aggressive. And sometimes maybe it's just that he knows that if he won't do anything, they will lose. So he'll just trying, and it works.
Okay, it's interesting you would say that. Like, actually, you have kind of an intuitive style as well. Because very recently I saw this Korean TV show, True LOL Show it's called, where there's subtitled versions now, and they had an interview there with Dandy. And the thing with Dandy is he's so famous for like knowing where his opponent will be and using mind games to kind of get the enemy to not be where he's going to do a gank, or go where he knows the enemy's going to be to out 1v1 him, that people all thought, okay, he must be like a really cerebral player. Like, he must be literally thinking, like you're saying there, like in 2 minutes he'll be there and I'll go to that position and that's where I'll catch him. And everyone's thinking he was like that. Okay, but he actually said no, that actually he's entirely intuitive, and that he just knows, I think he described it as like more like you just know, you practice it so much you just know where to go in that sense. Is this kind of how you describe it?
Well, yeah, it's kind of, but I guess he's on completely different level than we are with Shook. Like, when I look at him, he's just so good, you know? Like you said, he knows everything. He knows where to be, how to gank, and especially his mechanics are always on top of everything. Like, he always throw the good Q. He always will hit. And what you just said, it doesn't surprise me, you know, because I guess that's just kind of game with the jungler that you kind of need intuition to play and to be good. But I don't know, like, he's on just completely different level.
So if I ask specifically about you in this case, though, if you're saying you go off intuition, do your teammates get to have a say in where you gank? Like, do they just give you the information? Like, maybe there's something here, or do they? If they say come top now, do you come top at that moment? Do you go mid, or is it always on you as to choose where you go? How does it work? Do you think?
Well, in old ROCCAT, while we were playing in LCS, sometimes yes. For example, Vander said, "Okay, so it's possible to gank bot right now." Like, he didn't say like come to the brush or something. He just said, "No flashes bot. We should try to gank." And I guess we just hit the skill shots, you know. He just hit the hook, I just hit the Q, and we killed. But sometimes it's just that, for example, enemy are going Drake, and I know that we can't stop them possibly. We are just weaker. So instead of trying to stop them, I just go top, kill one guy, and take the tower, you know. It's pretty obvious, but sometimes you just need to do a smart decision. You can't wait for it. And yeah, it what it takes to be a pro player, I guess.
So since, like I said, in Dandy's case, because he's so famous for like being able to kind of guess where the enemy will go, from the way he described it, it made it seem to me like maybe he does research before, but then in the game he kind of already has that information in his mind, so then he can still just play and he'll kind of have a sense of where to go. Is there something similar for Jankos? Because everyone knows Jankos is like the first blood master. He always is in the right place at the early game. Do you do a lot of scouting of opponents?
I think I just try to, gank as much as possible while also farming very good. I don't try to counter jungle as much, for example. Like Svenskeren tries to counter jungle so much, and he also tries to farm. He also tries to gank, And he's not the best at everything, but he's super good at everything. You know what I mean? Like, he's good at everything.
He's not the best at one thing,
yeah,
but he's good at all things.
He's not the best, but he does everything so well that he's very good.
Okay.
And in my case, I guess it's that when I play a lot of games, I play, for example, different matchups. I play Lee Sin versus allies, and I just die. For example, I invade enemy jungle and I die. So it's like in my brain tells me that I can't do it again in different game, and I just remember it. So sometimes I just know the timers because of that. I just know what can I do and what can't I do. And also when you try to do different stuff in solo queue, you can also, you just know when people are playing aggressively that they have a ward or they haven't a ward. So I guess I just try to gank as much as possible. and it's working, especially with the early game champions.
So, when in this season where you came into LCS, was the era when, to a lot of fans, they all think that's like the end of Diamondprox. They say like he was worse or he couldn't be having impact, and then obviously he even got benched for a little while. In this era, a lot of the players who were being hyped as the good European junglers were all the guys who mechanically were very good. It was like you, Amazing, Svenskeren, and then I guess the only one I can think of who's not really mechanically that good was like Cyanide was still around, but Cyanide always has an amazing team, If you think of this sort of era, I know you always make comments like, oh, Diamondprox is still good, or I've seen on your Twitter sometimes you say like he had a great game. What is your thought on this era of Diamondprox in Season 4? Was something changed a little bit, do you think?
Well, what can I say? Like when I was leaving for the LCS, I think it was New Year's Eve, and I was drinking with friends, right, like everyone, and we were like joking around that, holy shit, Diamond will just, rate me pretty much, like he's better. That like I was even scared to go against him, but he was already like doing mistakes, and he was not as good as he was, but he was still showing us more, like trying to play different champions. Like no one was, for example, going for blue pot Evelyn with potions and super aggressive playstyle, or I remember even a Karma jungle, for example. Like he's an innovator, what can I say? And we can always look up for him, but I guess he has a wife now. So maybe he's just not playing as much as he did before. That's why his mechanics are not that good anymore, like not the best in Europe at least. And maybe that's the reason why he's not so good anymore, I guess. Because when I was leaving, I thought that he will still be the best. Like he and Shook pretty much will be the best junglers. But at this point, I wouldn't consider him top 1 in Europe. He's probably in top 3 just because he knows a lot. He has a lot of experience, but top 1, no way.
So you referenced Svenskeren there. Like the big 3 people that people always mention in Europe now is you, Shook, and Svenskeren. And I've talked to different pros, and depending on which pro I talk to, lots of them have a different opinion. Some think Svenskeren's the best, some think Jankos is the best, some think Shook is the best. What you've described a little bit about Svenskeren there. Is there something unique about Svenskeren? You said like he's good at all things. Does he have any unique quality to him that's different from other junglers?
Well, I guess his team kind of plays, like helps him a lot. You know what I mean? They like SK was just picking lanes to push. So Svenskeren could invade, and every time there was a like 7-minute blue buff or 8-minute red buff or like 12, 13. He was there. Why? Just because Freddy was like smashing everyone to the turret, and the Yesis was just playing Zeke and just throwing bombs, so there was no push mid, And he was just invading the red buff and blue buff just because like everyone could help him, like Freddy could help him, or Yesis, I think, would help him. And if they were losing, he was not so aggressive, He was just trying to gank more. But I guess because of that, like he played that for 1 year, that tactic, I guess, if I can call it like that. So he got so good at it that he's so good at counter jungling, And also he's not scared. He's never scared to die. He's never scared to go into your jungle, wait for you, and just kill you. Also, I think he got pretty good instinct as well, because it just, I don't know, like he knows where to be to pretty much drop you too low in the jungle. You need to go back, and there's a lot of pressure on your liners. So I don't know, like he's just good at everything, but he's just not the best,
It sounds like a theme I'm hearing that's kind of repeating when I hear your answers. Is maybe because it's your style. You like the guys who like are making lots of plays early. There's lots of action. They're willing to like take a risk. Whereas it sounds like in general, when players are a bit more passive or they don't have a big impact, that's not the style you favor. Okay, so I want to ask you this: Is there actually a famous jungler in the world, or a really good jungler now, who has a passive style or a more passive style who you actually think is good? Is there anyone who goes against that trend for you, or is in general for you, does it have to be the aggressive style, do you think?
To be fair, I didn't think about it. Like, I just don't think the passive playstyle is good right now, and it's just so boring to watch, when the jungler is just farming. For example, Ko, who is playing in Gamers 2 right now, he's pretty good as well. Like, his mechanics are good, and when he's playing online, like, he invades a lot as well, and he's just good. And when I looked at, for example, Snoopy, who is not playing right now, but he was good in season 2, for example, as well. He was playing passively as well. Like, he was just farming, giving his wrath to Froggen every time, so Froggen would carry him. He was just good at team fighting, maybe shot calling as well, we don't know that. But he was pretty passive, so I never really liked him because of that. Just because he was passive, it was boring to watch him. And when I looked at Diamond, every time invading enemy jungle, like ganking everywhere, killing everyone, it's just so cool to watch.
Sure.
It's just better.
So one of the players when you were coming up in the amateur scene who actually became quite famous as a jungler was Insec because of his Lee Sin, and he obviously invented that particular kick. Now you're well known as a Lee Sin player. People tout your Lee Sin is very good. A lot of the junglers right now, that's one of their strongest champions, one of the strongest for the mechanical junglers out there. Is there a difference between when Insec does the Insec kick and when other people do? Is there anyone you think's at the same level doing those kicks in terms of like the mechanics or just the kind of plays they can make? Is there someone else who's at his level?
Hard to say. I think Shug is at the same level, I think when it comes to be a good jungler, you need to know how to play Lee Sin, because it's not that hard to play Lee Sin, but you just need Lee Sin to show you that you got good mechanics. It's that champion that can show people that you are pretty good at this game. And to be fair, look at all the top junglers. Everyone has a good Lee Sin. Like you got Svenskeren, who had few like deaths that were unnecessary in the beginning of the split, spring split, I think, but then he was like better. You got Shug, who is super good at Lee Sin. You got Diamond, who is super good at Lee Sin. I would say I am good as well. And in NA, like Amazing was pretty good at Lee Sin. Meteos is pretty good at Lee Sin. Like every jungler that's good needs to be good at Lee Sin, I guess.
Okay. If I ask you about Amazing, because you just brought him up there, you have kind of a unique perspective on him because you actually played against him in the spring split when in theory he was on not necessarily a bad team, but one of the worst teams, one of the lower end teams. And then I'm sure you saw him, he went to TSM, who in theory were one of the best Western teams. So you got to see him on both sides, like with not so good laners, with strong laners. What did you think of Amazing's time in TSM? Like, did it live up to your expectations?
Well, Amazing was always a good jungler. He was consistent in the ULCS, but it's more that when playing against Copenhagen Wolves, you were trying to focus on Forgiven, who was super good AD carry, not Amazing. And Amazing had some super good plays at Lee Sin. Like he was one of the best Lee Sins in Europe, I would say. He was a little bit worse than Shug only. And then he went to NA from like one of the bottom teams in EU LCS, from one of the best in America. And what do you expect from him? Like, okay, people hyped him so much. Like everyone was saying, oh my God, Amazing with Bjergsen, like so good. Even Cloud9, like, I don't know what can high-end Meteos do. Like it's Amazing and Bjergsen, they are so good. They are from Europe. And they just, with the coordination, they will just outplay everyone. But then you got a fierce match, TSM versus something, and you got 3 bans: Lee Sin, Allies, and something. What can Amazing do right now? Like who else he plays? Who else every jungle plays? Like when you are not playing your best champions, you will play more passively and you won't do as much plays as you do. So you got Amazing, and he can't play Allies and Lee Sin because people just know that he's so good at those champions. So he's trying to play different champions like Xin Zhao, like Volibear, but it's just not working for him. He's kind of aggressive player, and with Lee Sin you always can go in, you can go out, but when you are playing, for example, Zao, you just go in and you die if you fail something. And he didn't live up to his expectations, I would say. And it's not because he's a bad player, because like he's a good player. It's more that people prized him so much. Like people were saying, he's so good at this game. He's one of the best junglers in Europe. He will be so good in NA. No, it doesn't work like that. If expectations are so big, you just want, like, what could he do to live up to them, you know? Like there's nothing to do. Like he would have to be a god to I don't know. So people would inflate him. So you know, like for me it's stupid because he's a good player. Maybe from CW to TSM, I don't know if it was a good idea. I guess not, because he is not in TSM anymore. But people just flamed him too much, I guess. If he would have more time, if people would be more tolerant to him, I guess he would play better. Like he just needed more time, I guess.
So you say that actually leads me to an interesting potential question for you then, because you're saying here, like going from obviously not the best EU team to, in theory, if not the best, the second best NA team. That was the one where he joined, and then like you're saying, the expectations are incredibly high, and you'd really have to be a god to live up to them, especially in such a short amount of time. You know, going from the small team to the big team, not even like a gradual build up or anything. This leads me to wonder what Jankos would think of a potential move, because I heard some rumors at one point, maybe it could have been TSM Jankos, or maybe now it could be TSM Jankos if he hadn't signed his contract, or maybe it could have been FNATIC Jankos. You know, maybe there was chances where Jankos could have left ROCCAT, this team he's been in for a while now, and he could have gone to a big name, and he could have had these expectations on him. Listen, you can deny it. I've heard that these things existed, okay? At least the offers were there. Is that, aside from liking your teammates and all that, was this a factor for you? Would it worry you if you were to go to a big team like that? Would you prefer to stay in a smaller place where expectations are less? What?
Okay, one thing that, like, I want to deny, that's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing, I'm not sure if I would go, just because I want to go towards, right? But ROCCAT is a good team as well. Like we got a shot to go towards. Now we changed 2 players and we got even higher chances. And what's good in ROCCAT is that I'm one of the best ROCCAT players, or at least like everyone is, everyone is just the same. But what can I say? Everyone is just playing good, but not the best. So I'm not like a star, like Reckless, but I got my shiny place. I know what I must do to look good and to be good. And I like to play. I like to be better. I want to be the best. But what if I would go to FNATIC or TSM and I would be the same as amazing? For example, there would, like, people would look at me because you got so many Cyanide fans, for example, and he would got kicked, and I would be there, and everyone would just be, why would you kick Cyanide for him? And look, I would fail like 3 games, and people would be like, oh my God, this guy sucks. Why would you take him? Where is Cyanide? Where is Cyanide? And maybe I would just break, you know? Maybe I just, instead of it motivating me to play the best that I can, and I would personally, I think it would motivate me, because there's nothing else that can motivate me as much as people saying you suck, pretty much.
Okay.
And maybe I would just not be as good as in ROCCAT. And in ROCCAT, I'm one of the, like I said, I'm one of the best players that we have right now, and I can just look good. And I guess I like this place, you know. I like where I am.
Okay, but there would be one key difference, though, as a jungler, in the difference between those 2 teams that we were kind of describing there. Like, if you're in ROCCAT, think of the old ROCCAT lineup where you had Xaxus top lane and you had Overpow mid lane. Now, listen, I know you like those guys, all the rest of it, but this is just my opinion, okay? I thought Xaxus was kind of average, okay? He was average, he wasn't anything special, just okay top laner. And then Overpow...
I agree, but he had his times. Let's say he had his times, you know? Like, sometimes he was good, like shining, let's say.
Okay. And then Overpow. Okay, Overpow was a bit weird, because it's not that he was bad. It's more like he was just weird. Like, he was good on certain champion 1 or 2 games, then he had to switch to another one. He wasn't the guy where he just picked like 3 champions and he just owns on them, you know. So again, he's not like the perfect mid laner. So my point here is, okay, that was what you were working in with ROCCAT. But if I put Jankos into FNATIC, the same lineup they have now, suddenly he has Soaz top lane, he has Expeke mid lane. If I'm thinking of him giving his first blood to Soaz now, giving first bloods to Expeke, getting him rolling in the mid lane, in theory, you could be amazing here, right? You could be even better. You could accomplish great things. No?
It's hard to say, you know why? Because FNATIC got their certain play style where like all of those players are stars. Expeke is so good, he's so known. Soaz the same, he's so good. Like I would say he was, before Worlds, he was the best in Europe. Now Freddy, I think he's better. I'm not sure though. Then you got Reckless, who is obviously the best in Europe as AD carry, and Yellowstar, who is like this guy. When playing support, when I played scrims against FNATIC, I was just scared of that guy. Like he was literally everywhere on the scrims. Like he was doing everything. And then you got Cyanide or me. So I would need to play a little bit more passively, and maybe if I would have the same playstyle that I wear. I like to take farm from lanes as well, right? So I would deny farm from Expeke, from Reckless, and from Soaz. And then what? Like FNATIC works just because Cyanide is just passive. He's just farming. He has his days where he's shining. He has his days where he's not that good. But overall, this guy is good. And he knows what he's doing. And he knows that he just needs to support his team. And they will carry him pretty much. Like, he don't need to feed Reckless with the first blood for him to dominate, you know? Reckless is just that good. He's not dying. He's just hitting every last hit. Then Soaz is dominating top lane. Expeke is farming, and he knows what he can do with certain champions. And Cyanide, all he needs to do is feed blue buff, feed red buff, and try to gank, obviously, and listen to calls. Like when Yellowstar says, "Come here with me," Cyanide just needs to, listen to him and do whatever Yellowstar asks, I guess. And I'm just not the kind of player who would be, who'd listen to every call. Like I want to do my own plays. I want to be as good as they are. I don't want to be a dog just running for the wood, I would say. Like, I don't want people to tell me what to do. I just know what can I do. I know that I'm good, and I will try my best. Of course, I will listen to calls, but I don't want to be like just running around because people tell me to do so.
Okay.
Well, I'm not also saying that Cyanide is doing that because we don't know what's inside, but from my perspective, it's some kind like that. He's just a player who just listens to his team and it's working.
My favorite player in League of Legends is the top laner Flame from CJ Blaze, and one of the famous qualities that he has as a top laner is like he's supposedly like ungankable. Like he's really good. If the jungler tries to dive him under his tower, he can always sort of like kite around and like flash at just the right time and avoid dying and maybe die and trade 1-for-1. He's like very good at this style. Okay, is there a player that you've played against who is just the hardest to gank? Like this guy has a really good sense for it, or he's really good at fighting when the jungler tries to dive him. Is there someone who sticks out?
I guess first one is mid lane Froggen. Obviously, it's because he's just good mechanically and he knows everything. I don't know how he does that. I guess Shug is buying him a lot of wards, but he just knows where the jungler is. He just knows how to play to not get ganked and how to play to kill 1 versus 1 and then get out even when the jungler comes. And the second guy is, I think, Freddy. When I was playing with Zazus, it was super hard to gank Freddy, and sometimes it worked, but Freddy was still pushing. Like it wasn't more about like it wasn't super hard to gank him, but it was pretty hard to. But it's the thing that either he would lift after that gank, either even if we would kill him, he was still ahead somehow. I don't know why. Like he was still pushing. He just came back to base, and in theory, Zazus was ahead, but Freddy was so good that he was still pushing, and he was still like standing at his ground. So it was super annoying to play versus him, and you had to beat up a few times. And I don't know, then maybe it would work out. But if you would do that, then Svenskeren would gank your bot lane, and then yes, is it just still perma pushing, and you are not punishing him for it. So SK is kind of good to play against us, I guess. Like their playstyle is good versus ROCCAT, but maybe not versus good ROCCAT. We will see.
So when you were watching Worlds and we saw some of these European and Western junglers got their chance to go up against like the big names, everyone's like heroes, the ones we've seen all the videos of. So we got to see the Westerners against like Insec, against Dandy, this level of player, you know. You've never played against big Koreans like that.
Yeah, I wish I would.
When you saw what happened to them, how do you think of it? Is it like you're really looking forward to it? Do you worry like what if I play against Dandy and he does to me what he did to Amazing, makes me look silly? What do you think?
To be fair, I would love to play against them. It's not that I feel that I'm worse, you know. Okay, like maybe he's considered the best, but how big am I? Like, I mean, how big he is compared to me? Okay, like totally, like he's world-class jungler. I'm probably just European-class jungler, but if I would face him, like in 10 games, I would learn so much that in like, for example, 11 game, it wouldn't be so easy for him if it would be even in those 10 games. I just think that I would need to face him a few times, and that it's not only Dandy, it's like his team was super good also. But yeah, he is a god, and I would love to face him. I would love to face such a good player and such a famous player, because when I first qualified for the ULCS, I wanted to play against Diamond because back then he was considered the best jungler in Europe, but he didn't live up to my expectations, I guess. I kind of wanted him to outplay me, and I guess I wouldn't say that I was better because I'm just not cocky, but I just expected him to dominate me if he's so good and if he has so much experience, you know. But I guess it's just not only him. It was Gambit itself had problems against us. Like we had record like 3-1 and then 5-1 versus them. So I don't know.
Okay, so you say you're not cocky, and you've been very complimentary in this interview towards Shook, towards Dandy, obviously, towards even Svenskeren. Why aren't you cocky? I mean, it sounds like you are confident because you're saying you'd like to play these people, like you're not afraid of Shook anymore. But on the other hand, you don't think like, okay, if I was you, okay, the way I'd go is I'd think like, yeah, okay, right now we're all a similar level, like me, Shook, Sensei, we're all a similar level. But you know, look at some of their solo laners and look at my solo laners, and like, you know, I'd say it like this, okay, the way you could kind of bill yourself as the best is you could say, okay, I'm making the most of like the least. I'm making the most of my resources, you know. You don't follow this philosophy?
Okay, I get it, but what would I receive if I would say something like that? For example, like that, right now I'm in interview and I say, oh my god, like my lanes are so bad, like get me out of here, I want to go to FNATIC, I'm so good.
Okay.
If I would say that, not only people would flame me for that because I'm not known, and I guess like you need to be famous to be good, but not only, it takes a lot of skill. And then if I would do something bad, people would just eat me alive, you know. Because if I would consider myself like doublelift, for example, I'm so good, and then every ADC is better, then what? Why would they say something like that? I prefer to say that I want to play versus them because I want to learn and I want to be the best, but I won't say that I'm better just because I guess I'm not sure about that. I will just try my best and I will win or I will lose, you know. And if I will lose, I will be super mad, I will rage a little bit, I will be sad, and then I will move on, I will try again, and
okay,
maybe I will succeed.
When you say that, like you keep saying like, okay, I'm not at the level of Dandy, you know, like maybe I'm good, but like I'm not so good that I can't improve and whatever. I'm genuinely interested to know, because when I watch Jankos, I'm like, okay, he's really good, I think. And actually, the only thing I see you lacking is because you haven't gone to the international tournaments, you just didn't get a chance to. So we don't know how you would fare against the Chinese or the Korean jungler, you know. That's one we'd see if there was another level. If you yourself are thinking that you're not the best, what areas are you lacking in at the moment? Is there something that sticks out or something that someone else does better and you think I have to be better in that way if I want to be another level up?
First thing is, I think my mechanics are pretty good, but they need to improve. So I guess I need to play a little bit more. I mean, like more, to be as good as Shuk in his best shape. Like Dandy, for example, maybe a little bit worse because this guy is just a god. But I want my mechanics to be like people, so people wouldn't just outplay me. So I will like always hit the Q, for example, or always hit the kick, or I would be so fast that Reckless wouldn't be able to flash from my QW.
Okay.
You know. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I got zero international experience, like world experience, let's say. You know, I didn't face. Well, I played versus TSM before the qualifications, but I don't think it matters. And maybe now when some NA team will come, maybe we'll play, like for IM Cologne, maybe someone will come. So I will play versus them. But overall, I didn't play against any Chinese, any Koreans, Taiwanese players, like none of them. So I can't say that I'm, for example, even as good as Dandy just because I didn't play him. And when you look at him, he's just super good. And when you look at Jankos, it's just that, like, okay, he's fine, but he's not like Dandy. He's just not doing so much as Dandy is. When you look at Dandy, you are like, oh my god, his mechanics are insane. How does he do that? And when you look at Jankos, it's like, okay, you played that well, but I guess someone could have played it as well as you or even better.
Okay, then. Well, in 1 year from now, every jungler who gets to the absolute peak level is a god. Okay, so Diamondprox, like you were saying, he was a god at the end of season 2. That was like when he was in his prime, you know. You're talking Insec at one point was amazing. Dandy now, Cacao now. Everyone, all these ones, they're at the god level. Okay, so a year from now, Jankos is in a better team. You know, he's got these new players coming in. Maybe he qualifies for Worlds. A year from now, Jankos can be a god, right? He can be a jungle god.
Yeah, but he could also be a no one at this moment. Like
no, but he's not gonna be. You're gonna, right? You know it.
Okay. No. But okay, you say something like, "I could be the best." Yeah, I agree. But I could also be the worst. Like you never know. Like for example, Hirkubot. He was when we qualified against NIP, he was good while playing on LCS, and then suddenly he was playing very bad when we played against NIP, and then he disappeared. You know. And who did hear of Hirkubot, like for example, six months ago? Like even 6 months ago, like no one heard of him. Like what does he do now? And it could be the same about me. Like for example, this split, it's like starting in January or February. I'm not sure right now, but this split starts, and I don't know, something happened. Maybe I just burned out, or I didn't play as much, or I lost my motivation, which won't happen, but it could happen, you know. And suddenly I'm not so good, and then there's a second speed where I fell, and we are in the playoffs, and I don't play good, and people just say that this guy is not good anymore. Let's change him for, I don't know, for Dandy because he wants to come to Europe, you know. And they just kick me out. No one wants me because I'm just bad at this moment, and boom, 1 year passes and I'm no one. This could happen. And also what could happen is I'm like in the semifinals of World Finals, and we are just stomping new Samsung White team.
Okay, right. Pause
like everything can happen. It's just that you need to practice. You need to like give out the best from you, but you can't forget that there are better players, and you have to look up for them. You can't say like they all suck, I'm so good. I don't know. It just doesn't motivate me. I prefer to hear something like, you suck, mate. You need to improve. And then I'm like, okay, I will spam like 20 solo queue games a day. And when I hear something like, you are so good, like you are the best in Europe, then I'm like, haha, super, you know. But okay, then if I'm the best in Europe, then in some time I won't be the best anymore because people will practice and then someone else will be considered the best. And at this moment, I prefer to be like second, and I prefer to in a time, you know, to practice and then be the best. And like you can't stay the best forever, you know. You had your moment, but I guess maybe I just won't be the best ever, but I will always be good. And I will try to be the best, of course.
Right. As a as one of the closing topics, I have a game that I like to play. I came up with it a little while ago. It's specifically for junglers, though, because I've noticed they're the best ones to do this kind of system with, okay? And so what I do is, normally people think, and this is the excuse every jungler says, is like, oh, you can't judge junglers against each other because, we've got the different lanes and, like, it depends what champions are in them and there's all these factors, so don't judge us one by one. But everyone knows the matchup of, like, a jungler and his signature champion. So we know, like, okay, Dandy, it might be amazing on something like Kha'Zix, for example, or Cacao might be Diamondprox on his old Lee Sin, whatever the combination of whichever you think of as the signature champion. It's more like the game is, you pick a couple of junglers. They can be any of these names. They can just be famous names or players you've played a lot. And you just tell me, like, what you think of as their best champion. So with Shook, maybe it's his Lee Sin, okay? So Shook's Lee Sin, and then you tell me, it can either be what you do or what the general style should be. Like, how should you play against Shook's Lee Sin, as an example, okay? So can you give me a couple? Like, pick one. Who would the first one be? Who do you want?
I can tell you what I would do against Shook Lee Sin. Okay. So what I would do is, if every champion is open or something is banned against me as well. Or
it's up to you. You just give us an example scenario.
Okay, so I'm playing versus Shook Lee Sin. What I do, I pick either right now, I would pick either Jarvan or allies, and I would probably try to deny him very early in the game, like level 2, level 3, I would try to invade, because if you face check on Lee Sin against allies or Jarvan, you will probably lose. Like, if they would face check on Lee Sin, they would lose too. So pretty much it's just, you need to catch him somehow in the jungle, and either you kill him, either he burn all his potions, he burn his flesh, and he needs to go base. And then I will probably try to deny his jungle, and I will probably outfarm him with allies, and then I will try to be more useful in team fights, right? But on the other hand, if you would be more passive, if you would let him do his thing, if that would be the online Shook that does everything, I guess you just need to play aggressively against those kind of players. Because if you just let them do their things, they will just pretty much play so good. Like, okay, for example, I'm just farming, I'm not doing anything, and then Shook is ganking top, ganking mid. I'm trying to counter gank, but I'm never there as fast as he is. Like, I'm never there in the right exact time, So either you need to try to be there when he's there, and you need to know the certain matchups. For example, that, I don't know, allies with Irelia wins against Rumble and Lee Sin. You need to know that, so you will use it, and you will try to just kill him at counter gank. But on the other hand, you need to know that he knows it as well, so he probably won't try to gank top, and he would go bot, for example, when there's a trash Corki against like Janna and Sivir, who are easy to gank. So it's a mind games pretty much.
Okay.
It's hard to say what to do exactly to beat someone. You just need to know it. Like, when you are good enough, like, it's just in your blood that you know what to do.
Okay, give me another name. Who else should we go for? Who's another good one that you could think of?
In Europe or overall?
Up to you. You just tell me who you think of.
Okay, let's talk about Europe then, because like this is the continent I play and I know like everything about the junglers pretty much. So I don't know, Kottenx.
Kottenx?
He's not good, right? So
well, I wouldn't say so, but okay.
Yeah. Like, in my opinion, Kottenx is not good. And when I played against him, I never respected him. Like, I would just invade his, like, not in, maybe it wasn't so visible in the LCS, but when we were playing scrims against Millennium, like, this guy was non-existent for me. Like, I don't know why, I just didn't respect him. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's the best either. And it was just easy to play against him. Why? I don't know. Maybe his mechanics are not so good, or what can I say about him? He was just not so good. Like, he's not in Millennium anymore. And for example, when I play against Svenskeren, what can I do to outplay him? I know that he's super aggressive, and I know that he likes to invade your jungle. So what do? You try to ward your buffs, and instead, and you need to be there when the buff is spawning, for example, right? So he tries to invade your second buff, blue buff. It's 7 minutes in the game. The buff spawns, and usually he will ward it around 5 minutes. So you destroy that ward, and if he will still try to invade, you just camp there. You wait, he face checks, he dies, because your lane is like coming there faster, and you face check to you, so pretty much like he can't win, right? So I don't know, but sometimes it's just not working because like he got no ward, and so he won't invade, or he knows that his lanes are winning. So why would he take risk when the game is over already? He just needs to, go bot and dive because it's so one-sided game.
If I ask you about a player you haven't played, so Meteos from Cloud9, obviously a famous Western jungler. Obviously, you haven't played him, so you can only talk about things you've seen. Do you have a sense for how you think Jankos would play if he played against Meteos, just based on things you know about him?
It's hard to say right now, just because I didn't watch this split and last split. I didn't watch so much NA games, so I know that Meteos is super good, but I don't exactly know how does he play. For example, I know maybe 1 year ago it was. Maybe it was a little bit earlier. I don't remember exactly. I know that he played like he never did a stupid gank. He was always like ganking the obvious lanes. For example, Cloud9 was playing Zyra Ashe bot, so he would always be there because it's so easy to gank when she just hits an arrow, Zyra just hits hold, and then Meteos is here to just finish off someone, right? And he was just always farming, super good. He was trying to farm as much as possible. And then he was just coming to gank obvious lanes, I would say, which means that he would always win either 3v3, either 2v2. And like it's easy to gank, the lanes that are easy to gank. So
what is the counter to that, do you think?
Well, I think you just need to try to gank early on against such a jungler, because either you will meet him and either you need to just outplay him mechanically when you meet him. Either he will farm and you just need to help your team out. So even if he ganks on some lane, then your team is either like so ahead that he won't kill, or if he will kill, then you are like, for example, you know that he will gank bot because it's Zyra and Ashe. So what can you do about that when you got like, I don't know, Janna and something that you will lose 3v3? So what can you do? You just go top and you dive top, You need to use the fact that you know where enemy jungler is. If you can't duel him, you need to invade his jungle. Like, for example, it's level 3 and Lee Sin is ganking bot. Instead of running bot for no reason when you know that it's over, like someone died, you just go to enemy jungle, you steal all the camps that you possibly can, and if it's possible, you just gank top. Like you try to avoid enemy jungler if he's stronger, and you also counter jungle just because you just seen him on a ward. It's the same thing that you got wards on wolves, and he's doing wolves right now, so you can easily, like, it's super safe to ward ref, like steal it and just run away, And even if the enemy mid laner is here and they got a ward on you, it's not possible for them to kill you just because like your mid laner is here as well, and you just say, I'm invading his ref, so just try to push. I'm around mid. Don't worry. I will help if there's a gank. I will help you, and I need to deny his farm because like he's just farming,
So if I ask you about Dandy, okay, I realize that sounds like a trick question because he's the best and no one can beat him, maybe, but with everyone, okay, even if you couldn't actually beat them, there's still an approach that would be the most successful, and maybe a way you could just limit them from being like a total god to just half of a god, What do you think just from watching him? Is there anything someone can do against Dandy to at least give them a chance or maybe limit him a little bit?
I guess with War's team he wouldn't be so good just because there's always like someone who will help him. It's not like he's a god because he's a god. Okay, like he's super good, that's fact, and he's a god. But it's not only him; it's his team as well. Like you don't know what's inside. Like you don't know if it's true that he's so good or if it's just lanes telling him that he needs to gank. Also, you don't know if the interviews is like always telling the truth, So, okay, Dandy has insane mechanics, but mechanics is not everything. If you got a better team and you are slightly worse mechanically than your opponent, you will win. Why? Just because, like, okay, you are fighting 2 versus 2 mid. You are worse than enemy jungler is. Let's say it's the same champions, but your mid laner is better than enemy mid laner. So it's just that, for example, enemy mid laner will play so stupid that he will show that jungler is here, you know. So Dandy won't tell him how to play the game, you know. He will just try to gank, or he will say like, I can dive it. But on the other hand, okay, like obviously Dandy will say like, okay, I can gank that, I can dive that. But if your lane is good enough, he will know that the gank is coming. He will know that he will get dived, because there are like 4 minion waves on the turret, and like it's just obvious that you could get dived. So you just ask the jungler to come to help. And even if you won't hit the nest on Dandy, because like he's just better, he will dodge it, then maybe you will possibly kill the enemy Rumble, or at least deny HP from them, because they are trying to dive and you are here for counter gank. And you know, they waste every flash or something, and no one dies. The creeps are still like farmed by your top laner, and he wastes a lot of time. Your bot lane is better, so they can play super aggressively, they can punish it. Like you can remember that when you see enemy jungler, all the lanes can play like they can do whatever they want. So if the lanes are better, obviously you can just limit yourself to counter jungle, or to like ward your enemy junglers camps, you know. For example, it worked in FNATIC. What does Cyanide do with Yellow Star? They just ward enemy jungle, and then like Cyanide doesn't need to do anything. He just needs to farm. Why? Just because they got such a good team that they will just win the lanes by their own, you know. What they need him to do is that he just need to know where the enemy jungler is. So he just plays a ward. There's always a vision on enemy jungler, and that's it. Like Xpeke will just dominate, for example.
When we were talking before about Diamondprox, and I said in Season 4 he had more problems, he also lost both of his solo laners. So now he doesn't have Alexic, he doesn't have Darian. Did you notice any difference in Diamond and how he played, or how he had to play, when he didn't have his famous solo laners and now he has different guys? Did it change anything about him or playing against him?
Well, I guess it's Gambit is changing top laner every month, so it's kind of stupid, because every time he's top lane, it's just not enough coordination to execute the gank properly. So it just, either you kill someone, either you just, I don't know, you just fail because like you played it wrong. Why? Because of the communication. I think he's playing better right now than he was in Season 4, like at this moment in solo queue and scrims. I don't really know if it's just because of the new mid lane or new top lane. It's that he's just trying to play way more than he did. And I guess he's just maybe not listening to his team as much as he did earlier. Like, for example, when Niku came to Gambit, maybe he just didn't listen to him as much as he did to Alex, you know. That's why the plays didn't work out for them. Like, they maybe just didn't trust each other.
So, okay, I've got another imaginary question for you to kind of close up here. It's going to be like this. If for some reason, okay, you couldn't play with ROCCAT anymore, all I want you to do is think of a player. He can be in any lane in the game. Think of one of the laners who, if I was to put you with this player, your style of like getting the early first blood, getting the ganks off, making lots of plays, you and this guy would be like the perfect combo. Like, you'd get him ahead, you'd get him rolling, he'd be dominating. Who's the guy who you could make the best if we paired him with Jankos? Who would be the guy in the world?
At this it's kind of hard to say, you know. There's a lot of good players who I would like to try to play with, but let's say I don't know, one in Europe and one in NA.
Okay.
Okay, so in NA, I would love to play with maybe Bjergsen. He's from Europe, but he's playing in NASS.
Sure, yeah.
And he's just very good, and he likes to play super aggressively. He likes to do plays, and he's super good mechanically. So I would love to play with him. I would love to try to coordinate with him, and I would love to try to make him the best, you know. And then from Europe, who I would love to play with at this moment? Kinda Frogan, maybe.
Okay, why?
Why? Because I just think that he's the best. It's not like he's not that aggressive as Bjergsen is, for example. So maybe we wouldn't like do so much plays together. But for sure, I would try to come mid as much as possible. At least when he would even if he would told me that he will tell me, I mean that you can get mid right now or something. Like okay, I would probably listen, but I would try to gank like when I want to, and he's good mechanically. So maybe if he would I would try to make him play more aggressively, so like he could carry pretty much games from like the scratch to everything, because right now it's that Frogan is playing passively and he's just farming. He's not taking as much risk as he, in my opinion, should. And if it would change instead of the alliance that we have right now, which means that if they don't win the early game because of Shook, like no one carries them early game if it's not Shook, and then they just wait Frogan to farm. They camp in base, Frogan farms, and then Frogan sometimes carries the game 1 versus 9, It happened versus ROCCAT as well, where Frogan was playing Zerap, and he like if on that Zerap would be a different player, for example, some like average player, like I wouldn't call the name, but like almost any other, maybe except Xpeka, like LCS mid laner, would be on that Zeraf, then the game would be already over. But Frogan is just so good with the skill shots. He's not taking risk. It's hard to kill him. Like I can imagine a better mid laner for Europe right now. Like if we would mix Bjergsen and Frogan, like fusion them or something.
Dragon Ball Z style.
Yeah, like something like that. I think that would be like the best mid laner in the world, even. Like the Koreans are like that, for example. The Koreans know like how to take risk. The Koreans know how to use the certain matchups. They just know everything. So we Europeans and Americans need to learn that. But if we could fusion and create like our super player to beat everyone, I guess for mid lane it would be for me Bjergsen and Frogan to fusion them, and I guess it would be our super machine to beat Koreans.
Okay. At the end of this interview, do you have a final message or someone you want to thank or say hello to at the end?
Yeah, I guess I can thank all the fans. Okay, first I want to thank ROCCAT and AMD for the help. Without them we wouldn't be in LCS. I want to thank all the fans for support. Keep cheering for us, guys. We will try to qualify for Worlds. And what can I say is we will qualify for Worlds. And I want to thank my family and my girlfriend as well for the support. Like they are just always supporting me, so I'm just lucky to have such people around me.
Dziękuję.
Dziękuję.